Simon Cowell, the man who's seen thousands of performances and rarely shows emotion, broke down in tears after learning what Courtney Hadwin had quietly endured behind the scenes. She burst onto the world stage at just 13 years old with a voice like Janis Joplin that instantly made her a global star. Her audition video went viral with over 300 million views. But what the world didn't see was what happened next. The pressure, the loneliness, the cost of fame at such a young age. How did this young girl survive stardom? And what did it take to get here? It was June 2018. A 13-year-old girl walked onto the stage of America's Got Talent, wearing long sleeves and a nervous smile. Her name was Courtney Hadwin. She came from a small village in England called Heselden, County Durham. Nobody outside her hometown knew who she was. The judges didn't know who she was. The audience had no idea what they were about to witness. When Mel B, one of the Spice Girls, asked her a few questions, Courtney's voice was soft and mellow at first. Then something shifted. The moment the music started playing, that gentle voice transformed into something raw and powerful. A strong, sultry mezzo-soprano that hit people like a wave. She sang Hard to Handle by Otis Redding, and the audience erupted before she even finished the first verse. But it wasn't just her voice. She moved across the stage with passion and energy, dancing and commanding the room with a presence that seemed impossible for someone so young. Everyone in that theater felt it. The judges felt it too. All four judges, Simon Cowell, Mel B, Heidi Klum, and Howie Mandel, jumped to their feet. Howie didn't just give her a standing ovation. He hit the golden buzzer. That moment was supposed to be her big break. That performance should have changed everything for her. And it did, but not in the way anyone expected. Howie compared her to Janis Joplin and said something that echoed to the internet. "You are not from this era. You're from a whole different era." The video of her audition spread like wildfire across social media. It was viewed millions and millions of times. Then it hit 300 million views. She became a global sensation overnight. A 13-year-old girl from England who nobody had ever heard of suddenly became the most talked-about young singer in the world. Everyone wanted a piece of her. Record labels were interested. Producers wanted to work with her. Fans flooded her social media. She made it to the finals of AGT. The world was watching. But as her fame grew bigger and bigger, something else was growing too. Something darker. Something that nobody was paying attention to. The question nobody asked was simple. What does this do to a 13-year-old girl? Imagine waking up one morning and discovering that 300 million people have watched you perform. Not 3 million. Not 30 million. 300 million. That's more people than live in the entire United States. Now imagine you're 13 years old when it happens. Courtney Hadwin didn't ask for that kind of attention. She was just a girl who loved to sing. She'd been training at music schools, performing at local events, competing in small singing competitions. She had dreams like any other teenager. But those dreams were suddenly happening all at once, to an audience so massive that it didn't even feel real. The aspiring singer delivered a jaw-dropping performance that was met with a standing ovation and an eruption of applause. Even the judging panel was amazed by her vocal abilities and unique dancing moves at such a young age. But applause from a theater audience is different from the applause of the entire world. One is loud. The other is deafening. It never stops. When you're 13, you're still figuring out who you are. You're dealing with normal teenage problems. Fitting in at school, managing friendships, understanding your body and emotions. You're not supposed to be managing a global fan base. You're not supposed to be making decisions about record deals and managers and which songs to sing. You're supposed to be doing homework and hanging out with your friends. But Courtney wasn't living a normal life anymore. She was living in two worlds at the same time. In one world, she was still a kid in England going to school. In the other world, she was a global celebrity that millions of people had opinions about. People she'd never met were commenting on her appearance, her voice, her potential, her future. Some loved her. Some were cruel. The internet doesn't separate the love from the cruelty when you're famous. It just throws everything at you at once. The pressure, feeling alone, and being misunderstood were very hard. Nobody warned her about this. Nobody prepared her for what it actually meant to have your face seen by more people than have ever seen any single human being before. The viral moment that was supposed to be the best thing that ever happened to her was starting to become a weight she had to carry every single day. And the worst part? She was about to sign a contract that would make it even heavier. By December 2018, 6 months after her viral audition, Courtney Hadwin was no longer just a talented kid with a dream. She was signed to Simon Cowell Psycho Records and Arista Records. This was supposed to be the ultimate validation. Simon Cowell himself believed in her. One of the most powerful men in the music industry was investing in her future. On paper, it looked like a fairy tale. But fairy tales and record contracts are very different things. When you sign with a major label at 13, you're making decisions that will affect the next 7 to 10 years of your life. You're agreeing to let other people control your image, your sound, your schedule, and your career. You're promising to show up, perform, record, promote, and do whatever the label decides is best for the brand. And Courtney's brand was hot. The label wanted to capitalize on her viral moment while it was still fresh. In 2019, Courtney appeared in the second season of American Got Talent, Champions, where she impressed the judges by singing her original song, Pretty Little Thing. Once again, the English singer was met with a standing ovation from the judges and was quickly advanced to the top 3. She was back on the biggest stage in the world, performing for millions of viewers. But this time, it wasn't as exciting. This time, it felt like an obligation. In 2019, she released a cover sessions album where she recorded songs of well-known artists like Harry Styles, Lil Nas X, Jonas Brothers, and many others. These weren't songs Courtney wrote. These were covers, other people's songs. She was a label asset now, and the label wanted to release content that would sell. Covers were safer than original music. Covers had proven appeal. They wanted to milk the viral moment as much as possible before moving on to the next big thing. The thing about being signed to a major label is that you lose a certain kind of freedom. You can't just wake up and decide to make the music you want to make. You can't take time to grow as an artist or figure out who you really are as a musician. You have to keep producing content. You have to keep performing. You have to keep being the 13-year-old sensation forever, even though you're growing up and changing and your taste in music is evolving. Courtney was trapped in a box. The box was golden and glittering, and everyone on the outside could see how lucky she was to be in it. But inside the box, she was suffocating. She had achieved a dream that every young musician has, and somehow that dream was becoming a nightmare. The loneliness was about to get a lot worse. Here's something people don't understand about fame. It's incredibly lonely. You'd think the opposite would be true. You have millions of fans. You have people around you all the time, managers, producers, handlers, security, other industry people. You're never actually alone. But that's exactly why it's so lonely. Everyone around you has a financial interest in you. Nobody is there just to be your friend. At 14, 15, 16 years old, while your peers were at school worrying about prom and college applications and normal teenage drama, Courtney was in recording studios and on stages and in meetings with executives. She missed out on friendships. She missed out on the experience of being a regular teenager. She missed out on figuring out who she was outside of being a singer. After leaving her record label and going through something personal in 2025, Courtney chose to stop pretending. That one sentence contains years of untold pain. Something personal is code for struggle. It's code for mental health issues, for depression, for anxiety, for the weight of living under constant scrutiny. It's code for reaching a breaking point where you can't keep the mask on anymore. The music industry is brutal, especially for young women. You're constantly told you're not good enough. Your appearance matters as much as your voice. Your social media metrics matter. The number of streams your songs get matter. Everything is quantified and compared and analyzed. And when you're a young girl, there's an added layer of pressure and judgment that comes from people who have no right to comment on your body, your choices, or your life. Courtney was dealing with all of this while still being a teenager, while her brain was still developing. While she was supposed to be learning how to be a human being, she was instead learning how to survive in an industry that chews up young talent and spits it out. The worst part was that she couldn't talk about it. If she complained, she'd be labeled as ungrateful. If she showed vulnerability, it would be used against her. If she admitted she was struggling, people would question whether she was strong enough to handle fame. So she kept it inside. She kept smiling for the camera. She kept performing. She kept pretending that everything was fine. But everything wasn't fine. And eventually, pretending becomes impossible. The moment of reckoning was coming. And when it arrived, it would change everything about her career and her life. At some point, every person reaches a limit, a moment where they look at their life and realize they can't keep going the way they've been going. For Courtney Hadwin, that moment came around 2024 and 2025. She was no longer a child star. She was becoming a young woman, and she was tired of being controlled. Courtney Hadwin has now chosen to pursue a career as an independent artist, carving a place for herself among great musicians. This wasn't just a business decision. It was an act of rebellion. It was her taking back power over her own life and her own art. Walking away from a major record label sounds brave and inspiring when you read it in a headline, but the reality is messier and scarier. When you leave a label, you lose their resources. You lose their marketing machine. You lose a guaranteed promotion and studio time and producer connections. You have to figure out how to survive as an artist on your own. Most young artists can't do it. Most young artists end up crawling back or fading away completely. But Courtney wasn't most young artists. According to Fault magazine, Hadwin has also written her own songs, and in her interview with the outlet, she reflected on how she took time to release her debut album, wanting to write songs based on her real-life experiences, which she had little of when she was younger. This is the key moment. This is where she stopped being a product and started being an artist again. She didn't rush to release new music. She didn't panic about falling off the radar. She took time, real time, time to live, time to experience things, time to have something real to write about. Hadwin released her debut album Little Miss Jagged in September, working with Grammy-winning producer Kevin Bowe for her most recent album, an album of her own songs, songs about her real life, songs about what she'd actually lived through, not covers, not songs written by committee. Her songs, her voice, her truth. She also released singles like Breakable, DNA, You Only Love Me When I Lie, and Call Me Back. These weren't manufactured pop songs designed to go viral. These were real songs from a real artist who had something to say. In an interview with Fault magazine, the 21-year-old singer reflected on how proud her younger self would be of her achievements and how far she has come since that first audition. The girl who walked onto that AGT stage 7 years earlier had fought her way back to herself. She'd survived the industry. She'd survived the pressure. She'd survived the loneliness. And now she was on the other side of it, creating real art from real experience. But Simon Cowell was still watching, and what he saw would break him down completely. This is the moment that matters. This is why the internet exploded with videos titled Simon Cowell Breaks Down in Tears. This is why people around the world were shocked to see the man known for his cold, brutal honesty sitting there with tears streaming down his face. Simon Cowell is not a man who cries easily. He's built his entire career on being the harsh judge, the one who tells people the truth even when it hurts. He's the guy who makes contestants cry. He's the one in control. He's the one with the power. But something about Courtney Hadwin's story, the real story, not the viral moment, but the entire journey, broke through his armor. Simon Cowell is not someone who cries easily, but this time he did. After learning what Courtney Hadwin had quietly endured behind the scenes, the famously tough judge was moved to tears. Think about what he was seeing. He was seeing a girl he'd signed to his own record label, a girl whose talent he believed in so much that he invested in her future. But he was also seeing what that investment had cost her. He was seeing the price of fame through the eyes of someone who had to pay it. He wasn't just reacting to her talent anymore. He was reacting to her survival. He was reacting to the fact that despite everything, despite the pressure, despite the loneliness, despite being trapped in a system that consumed young artists, she had found her way back to herself. She had broken free. She had become a real artist instead of a manufactured product. Simon Cowell in tears after what happened to Courtney Hadwin tells the true story of a young artist whose voice once stunned the world and who is now using that same voice to survive it. From viral fame at 13 to a rocky road to the music industry, Courtney's story is not just about talent. It is about strength. The tears weren't just about emotion. They were about regret. They were about recognition. Simon Cowell, one of the most powerful people in the music industry, was confronting the reality of what the industry does to young people. He was seeing the human cost of the system he helped create. And maybe, just maybe, he was seeing himself in a different light too, as someone who had profited from young talent, but hadn't always protected it. As someone who had the power to make a difference, but hadn't always used it wisely. The moment was powerful because it was real. It wasn't scripted. It wasn't for the cameras. It was genuine human emotion breaking through years of professional armor. But this story doesn't end with Simon's tears. It ends with something far more important than that. Everyone wants to know if Courtney Hadwin made it. Did she win America's Got Talent? No. Did she become a massive mainstream pop star? Not in the traditional sense. Did she fulfill the dream that got sold to her when she was 13 years old? Not the way the industry defined it. But here's the thing about success that nobody talks about. Sometimes the biggest victories are the ones that don't show up on the charts. Courtney may have been unsuccessful in scoring the $1 million prize on AGT, but she did not let that stop her from pursuing a music career. She didn't give up when she didn't win. She didn't disappear when the viral moment faded. She didn't become another cautionary tale of child star burnout. Instead, she kept going. She evolved. She grew. Courtney Hadwin is no longer the girl who shocked the judges. She is a woman writing her own story one lyric at a time. Her monsters may not be gone, but she is no longer hiding from them. She is singing straight through them. This is the real victory. Not the fame, not the record deal, not the standing ovations. The real victory is autonomy. It's taking back control of your own life and your own art. It's refusing to let the industry define you. It's choosing to be honest instead of manufactured. It's surviving something that destroys most people and coming out the other side stronger. Courtney has also connected with her fans via social media. She boasts over 700,000 followers on Instagram and regularly uses a platform to upload covers and share updates about her original music. She's built a real community, not a fan base that was sold a product, but a community of people who connect with her authenticity, people who respect her for being real, people who follow her because they believe in her as a person, not just as a performer. She's also planning to perform. The news of her UK tour dates comes months after Courtney Hadwin announced the release of her anticipated single Spellbound back in February. She's going to stand on stages and sing her own songs to audiences that chose to be there because they wanted to hear her voice, not because a label told them to buy a ticket. When Simon Cowell cried, he wasn't crying for the superstar Courtney Hadwin never became. He was crying for the artist Courtney Hadwin did become. He was crying because she survived, because she fought back, because she chose herself over the system that tried to own her. That's the real story. That's why the world was in shock. Not because a judge cried on camera, but because a young woman looked at an industry that had chewed her up and decided she was worth more than what it was offering. And she was right. Do you think Courtney made the right decision leaving the label, even though it meant giving up the guaranteed success? Would you have done the same thing in her position? What does real victory look like to you? Fame and money, or freedom and authenticity? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you know someone who's had to choose between their dreams and their sanity, share this with them. Courtney's story might be exactly what they need to hear.